Does he just have Pokemon in the background of all of his videos? Because that's adorable. It's a little Squovit. Aw. That's Squovit. Yeah. Oh, that's adorable. Yeah, Perso, that's a Squovit. That's one of the newer Pokemon. Yeah. Ah, that's adorable. I love it. I have a whole bunch of Pokemon plushies. I have a, well, first of all, I have a Mimikyu because it's my favorite ghost type. And I also have a Rowlet because he's one of my favorite grass starters in the world. He's my small little bird son, I like to call him. All right, anyway. Come on.
With Thanksgiving on the horizon, my mind turns to pecan pie.
Yep.
Pecan? Pecan?
Pecan?
No matter how you pronounce it, I love this stuff. But before we had this modern gooey, corn syrupy concoction, what did it taste like? Well, today I'm going to find out by making a syrupless 100-year-old recipe for Texas pecan pie. So thank you to Bright Cellars for sponsoring this video as we make the
I'm interested. Let's go.
Pie. This time on Tasting History.
That looks like it'll be so satisfied to decorate. I know.
So the first mention of pecan pie that I could find came from Harper's Bazaar in 1886. Pecan pie is not only delicious, but is capable of being made a real state pie, as an enthusiastic admirer said. Not entirely sure what a state pie is, unless they mean like a state pie, because pecan pie is the state pie of Texas.
It is,
but that didn't happen until 2013, so I'm not sure. But after this description,
2013,
they do go
really?
on to give a vague recipe of how to make pecan pie, pretty much useless though. The first useful recipes though start cropping up just a few years after this, and there are a lot of them, and they're pretty much all the same. But this one from 1914 is, in my opinion, the best written one.
All right, lay it on me.
Texas pecan pie. Cook together 1 cup of sweet milk, 1 cupful of sugar, 3 well-beaten eggs, 1 tablespoon of flour, and 1/2 cupful of finely chopped pecan meats. Line a pie tin with rich crust, fill with the mixture, and bake until done. Cook the whites of 2 eggs with 2 tablespoons of sugar until stiff, spread over the top of the pie, and brown slightly in the oven, sprinkling a few chopped nuts over the top.
Let's go.
Wonderfully simple, almost as easy as ordering wine from today's sponsor, Bright Cellars. Now, it was once
everything is bigger in Texas. Everything is bigger in Texas. You're right.
Or 230. I guess it's just me drinking alone. So for this recipe, what you'll need is 1 cup or 235 milliliters of whole milk.
Is that it?
1 cup or 220 grams of brown sugar. 3 eggs, 1 tablespoon of flour, a 1/2 cup or 65 grams of finely chopped pecans, a pinch of salt, plus some additional chopped nuts for the top, or as some other contemporary recipes called for, a layer of nuts on top of the filling, which is actually what I'm going to do because it's just more nutty. Also,
that's a lot of nuts!
Lined with your favorite pie crust. Now, I found that the quantity of filling that this recipe
I should make that a
is
sound
really
alert.
not enough for like a modern deep pie dish. So I'm using a tart dish, which is much shallower, and it worked really, really well. But if you want to make more of a traditional pie, then I would double everything.
Thank you, Galaxy. Yes, exactly.
Bake the crust by lining the dough with foil and then adding baking beans and putting it in the oven at 425 degrees Fahrenheit or 220 Celsius for about 12 minutes. Then remove the foil and the beans and return it to the oven for 5 to 7 minutes or until the bottom starts to brown. Then take it out of the oven and let it cool and turn the oven down to 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 175 Celsius while you go ahead and make your filling. For that, first thing to do is whisk your eggs, then in a medium saucepan add the milk, sugar, eggs, flour, pecans, and the salt, and whisk everything to combine. Then set it over low heat and gently stir while it warms and begins to thicken.
Oh, wow.
You want to make sure that it is over low heat. You want it to happen fairly slowly because
you need it to be low heat,
that are thickening into a custard.
Yeah, the eggs are going to curdle either way.
Then they just scramble, and that's going to make for a really gross filling. But after about 7 or 8 minutes or until it's thickened just a bit, go ahead and pour it into the pie shell. Now here's where several recipes call for you to add an extra layer of pecans on
that's
top,
fancy.
So that is what I am going to do because I think
that's fancy as hell.
Then
I like
take the pie
that.
and pop it into the oven for 30 to 35 minutes or until there's just a slight wobble in the center. And while it bakes, I would love it if you would hit that like button as I teach you about the history of pecans and their associated
I would try
pies.
this. I would try this recipe. Like, legitimately, I would try this recipe. Holy cow.
The word pecan comes via the French from the Algonquin word pacan, meaning any nut that needed a stone to crack it. The nut, which is native to North America, originally growing along the Mississippi from Illinois down to New Orleans and over to Oklahoma and Texas, was used by native tribes in the region up to 8,000 years ago. They were a staple of the diet, partly because they're a great food for foraging. Even months after
I love pecans, honestly. I think they're one of my favorite nuts.
To eat. Also, the oils could be used.
Don't take that out of context, for the love of God.
And the pecan could actually be used to make a fermented drink that was semi-alcoholic and intoxicating, and ain't nothing wrong with that. Now, the first European...
Remember, according to the internet, both pecan and pecan are wrong. You can't win. I honestly, I legitimately, I love pecans. They're probably one of my favorite nuts, like legitimately. And again, do not take that out of context, for the love of God.
Europeans to encounter pecans were the Spanish. In 1541, Hernando de Soto described a new kind of walnut with a softer shell and formed like bullets, which the Indians kept in huge stores in their houses. And these were undoubtedly pecans. Now, for my money, I'm really glad that the Spanish name did not stick. They called them
pecans.
De la Arruga,
Margaret.
which translates roughly to wrinkle nut. And a wrinkle nut pie just doesn't sound as appealing as pecan.
Wrinkle
now, for most
nut
of its history, the pecan was a wild tree. The first orchard
There's a joke I could make, but I'm not going to.
1772 in Long Island, New York. And it was around this time that the nut became very popular with the English colonists. Thomas Jefferson really enjoyed the nut, though at the time he called them Illinois nuts, and he gave some in 1775 to George Washington, who then had them planted at Mount Vernon. And a Frenchman who served with Washington in the Revolution remarked, "The celebrated general always has his pockets full of these nuts, and he was constantly eating them."
I'm sorry. No. Hold on. I have to make this joke now. He had pockets full of these nuts. Got him. I'm sorry. I had to. Had pockets full of these nuts. I'm moving on. God damn it.
General always has his pockets full of these nuts.
Got him!
He was constantly eating them. And after Jefferson was sent to France as ambassador, he implored a friend in Philadelphia, "Procure me 200 or 300 pecan nuts from the western country. They should come as fresh as possible and come best, I believe, in a box of sand." Interesting.
Okay.
Now, the problem with these wild pecan nuts, or the planted pecans,
that's a lot of nuts.
Their flavor was unpredictable.
They Guilford, it's okay. Don't worry about it.
Very bitter, even coming from the same tree. The way to improve the consistency was to graft them to an existing tree. And there were times that it was done in the early 1800s
Why do people watch me?
though not at a very large scale. It wasn't until 1846 that an enslaved gardener at Oak Alley Plantation named Antoine successfully grafted 16 trees and later another 100 trees. And it's the nuts from those trees that 30 years later, at the Philadelphia Centennial Exposition, won Best Pecan for their remarkably large size, tenderness of shell, and very special excellence. So side note, I tried to actually learn more about
Unlike Americans, these nuts still have the skins.
Information that I could find on him, which is not surprising. But it turns out
I'm a lover of all nuts.
At the end of November, in just a few weeks, Katie Moore
I'm sorry, chat. I'm sorry. It literally has just dawned on me now with how many quotes y'all are throwing out in chat. Dylan talks about nuts a lot in his videos. I'm just gonna let that thought linger. And we're moving on.
Is publishing his biography. So who knows, I might be back sometime in the future with an addendum on the life of Antoine. But for now, just know that his trees were very, very important. They became known as centennial pecan trees, and they
further breaking
were the
news.
basis
The
for
sun
the
rises in
commercial
the east.
pecan industry for quite some time. It
Oh
was also
my
shortly
God.
after this that a lot of the recipes for pecan pie start cropping up. Now, some say that the pecan pie was invented by French colonists in New Orleans.
Really?
And there is some evidence going back to 1758 for pecan pralines or pralines in New Orleans. But pie, not so much.
I love a good
Pretty much
praline.
all of the early pecan pie recipes came from Texas. And it's no wonder because Texans loved their pecans.
They sure do,
Tyler
honestly.
is a Texas town with about 12,000 people who eat a
Yeehaw,
carload
motherfucker.
of pecans every year. If New York ate pecans at the same rate, it would consume our whole crop. But unfortunately for Tyler, Texas, the word about pecan nuts had gotten out. One of the early proponents of the nut was the head of the Battle Creek Sanitarium
Yeah,
in Michigan.
a freaking-
he actually said that
yo,
being high in iron and lime, pecans
Texans
could completely
love
replace
pecans,
milk
man.
in
Holy
a
cow.
person's diet, which is a little ironic, seeing as the man was Dr. John Harvey Kellogg,
What?
inventor of Kellogg's cornflakes, which you eat with milk, not pecans, and that's probably why his brother was in charge of the business. Now, I am going to have to
That's
do an entire
wild.
episode on John Harvey Kellogg because
That's
he was
wild.
a fascinating and odious man. He was pretty horrible even for his time, and he basically invented breakfast cereal as an anti-aphrodisiac.
I'm sorry. Go back. What? What? Chat, I have questions. No, Bird, I didn't know that. No, Bird, I did not know that until literally just now. Chat, I have questions. What the fuck? That is wild to me. Honestly, that is absolutely wild to me. Holy shit.
Basically invented breakfast
Yeah, I didn't know
cereal
that until
as
just
an
now.
Anti-aphrodisiac. So yeah, definitely deserves a full episode. But back to pecans.
That's
Now that
insane.
the
What the
flavor was
heck?
fairly consistent, the only problem in the pecan industry was that they were extremely labor intensive because
Oh,
they
true.
still had to
Yeah,
be
yeah,
shelled
yeah.
by hand.
Oh,
And
no.
pecan sheller was one of the most dangerous and low-paying jobs in America.
Graham crackers are also made to be anti-aphrodisiac. Okay, oddly enough, see, that fact I knew. The whole Kellogg's thing, no, that one I didn't know. The graham cracker thing I knew because that was mentioned very specifically on an episode of Good Eats. But the Kellogg thing, that's new to me. The Kellogg thing is new to me.
Dangerous because the pecan dust would get into people's lungs and cause them major health problems.
Oh, no.
And low paying, as in $1 to maybe $4 a week, which even a century ago
Oh, God.
weren't that much.
I think Kellogg was
And
in
it
a weird
these factors that led to the
evangelical
pecan
health
shellers
food
strike.
cult. Oh,
On January
God.
31st, 1938, in San Antonio, Texas, 12,000 pecan shellers, mostly Hispanic women, walked off the job. Now, after almost
Good
2
for
months,
them.
the strike ended mostly in favor of the shellers.
Hell yeah.
Unfortunately, at around the same time, a pecan shelling machine came on the market, and within just a couple years, the job of pecan
that checks.
sheller was no more.
Yeah, that
But it
checks.
was a time when pecans became their most popular due to 2 factors.
Okay.
First was World War II, when pecans became a
that
replacement
also
for meat
checks,
when meat
yeah.
was scarce.
Uh-huh.
And the second factor was the popularization of pecan pie. Now, like I said,
Here we
in
go.
Texas and some other southern states, pecan pie had been around for quite some time, and mostly in the form that we are making today on the show. But in the 1930s,
I would honestly
Haro
make this
Syrup
recipe,
started
I'm not gonna
slapping
lie.
recipes for pecan pie using their syrup on every bottle of their corn
Ah.
syrup. Now, the company claimed that it
There
was
it is.
the wife of a sales exec who invented the pie when looking for new ways to use their Haro corn syrup.
Corn syrup,
That is
yep.
patently false, but they were responsible for making it as popular as it has become. But popular or not, in 1942, the pie came with a warning.
What?
True Southern pecan pie is one of the richest, most deadly desserts of my knowledge. It is more overpowering than English treacle pie, which it resembles in texture. For to the insult of the cooked down syrup is added the injury of the rich pecan meats. It is a favorite with folk who have a sweet tooth, and fat men in particular are addicted to it. Well, I wouldn't say that I'm addicted to it, but I am looking forward to tasting it.
Bro!
So once your pie is baked, take it out of the oven and let it cool. And once it's cooled,
Hold on.
So once your pie is baked, take it out of the oven.
Wait. God damn, that looks tasty as hell. Oh. I might need to make this recipe. Holy shit. That looks incredible. Are you kidding me? Oh. Yeah, I might need to try this. I might need to try this recipe, chat. Holy cow.
Let it cool. And once it's cooled, you can go ahead and make your meringue.
Ooh, meringue time.
What you'll need is 2 egg whites and 2 to 3 tablespoons of fine sugar. Since you're probably using large egg whites, I would go with 3 tablespoons of sugar. Now, the most important thing when making a good meringue is that everything, the bowl, the whisk, or beaters, or whatever you're using, is completely dry. So make sure that everything is dry, and once it is, whisk the egg whites on a medium speed until you start to get soft peaks. Then switch it into high gear, and very slowly add the sugar in. Then keep whisking until you get nice, shiny, stiff peaks. Then you can either... Another trick you can actually use to make sure to give your meringue a head start is a trick I picked up in culinary school. Throw in a pinch of cream of tartar. Just a very small pinch of cream of tartar. It actually stabilizes the proteins in the egg whites, so they're less likely to collapse. Just a little trick for you there. I've tried it many times. I swear by it. It works. It works. Spread it on the pie, or you can pipe it on. And this is the time to use your creativity. You can either put it on the entire pie or just on parts of it, the outside, the inside, whatever you want. Make it look pretty.
Also, wipe your bowl and tools with vinegar. That also works too.
Let the meringue brown, and it's ready to serve. And here we are, syrupless Texas pecan pie from 1914. Let's give it a go.
That looks good, y'all.
That is great.
That looks really
I
good.
gotta say, I like it more than regular pecan pie. It's not as sickly sweet. Not that I mind sickly sweet, but it's not as sickly sweet. But it's also not as gelatinously gooey.
I was about to say, I think I like this a lot better
because it's a custard, really.
Huh?
And you get a little bit of the crunch from the nuts inside, but then you get a lot of crunch from the nuts that I put on top. I would go ahead and do that, even whether they're chopped nuts or whatever, just kind of because they get toasted a little bit when they're on top.
Yeah. Really it adds to the texture. Yeah.
It's also more of a pecan pie. That's the flavor that I'm getting. It's the pecans,
Chad, I might have to do this.
rather than
I'm
just
saving this video.
The syrup or the sugar.
I'm saving
in
this video.
Case. And that's what I want. Pecan pie.
I'm saving this video.
So if you make this pie, make sure to share a picture with me on Instagram or on the Tasting History Reddit or Discord.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, that looked... Ooh. Wow. That's a recipe I might have to try. That looked really good. That looked really, really good. I might have to try that. I might have to try that one, chat. Holy cow. That looks really sick. Thank you, Son, for suggesting that. I usually don't like pecan pie. It's too sweet for me, but this? No, yeah. Yeah, seriously. It's really good. Oh, man.